This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Alex Ferrario, Donnie Fandango, Jeremy Rutherford, and Jeff Burton on 101 ESPN.
The Last Minute Blues Podcast is presented by Blue Note Roofing. Roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofing.com for a free inspection.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. Donnie Fandango joined in the Jeff Burton studio by Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. The podcast brought to you by Blue Note Roofing, roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofingSTL.com for a free inspection. So, guys.
What are we going to talk about today? Huh?
So,
I can already see the veins in Donnie.
Dude, guys, I have so many questions. I just honestly, and we're going to get to it, I just don't fully understand why the hell we're seeing what we're seeing. I have a stack of emails here, some really great emails again, but I know that by and large that this podcast is going to be very heavy. So I wanted to sort of start it out with a maybe not heavy
palate cleanser. Let's start off on an even playing field.
So Saturday night when the Blues were playing Detroit and melting down against Detroit, I had to not yell even in the slightest. And I will tell you why. So I have three kiddos. Very, very blessed. I have a 25-year-old son named Benjamin. My daughter, Ava, is a senior. She's 17. And my youngest is Dexter. Dexter is 16 years old. Dexter is on the spectrum. He is autistic, but he is very high functioning. He is a smart son of a bitch, man. He is just smart. The thing that Dexter has always struggled with is social situations, social skills. It's just been a struggle for him. In school, he's been picked on. I cannot even tell you how, just terribly. And so as Dexter has gotten older, a lot of things that normal kiddos get to do and experience because of his social skills, he really hasn't. Mm-hmm. For instance, Dexter has never been invited to a birthday party. Dexter has never, that wasn't a family member. Dexter's never had a friend spend the night or come over and hang out and play video games. And by and large, if I can be real, Dexter doesn't care. He's in his own universe. He loves being at home. He loves playing his games. He loves doing his art. And so, he has really never, ever said, why have I never been invited to a birthday party? Why? So about a month and a half ago, Dexter's birthday, by the way, was this past Monday. It was a couple days ago. So about a month and a half ago, Mary and I are in the kitchen and we're making dinner. Dexter is on the couch watching something on YouTube. And he says, hey, to preface it a little bit, we had been hearing these names of a couple kiddos in his class that seemingly he had become friendly with over the course of the school year so far. And so we're in the kitchen and we're making dinner and Dexter says, hey, I think I'd like to invite X and Y over to celebrate my birthday and to have pizza and to play video games. And I have to tell you that this is something that Dexter has never, ever, ever, ever said once in his life.
He called them the boys, right?
Now he calls them the boys.
Oh,
his boys.
There it is.
So, long story made longer. We invite a couple of his boys over. One of them unfortunately couldn't come, but the other one did. And so I had to drive my daughter to Pinckneyville, Illinois on Saturday for a band competition and then drive her right back because she had a play on Saturday night. So I was running crazy on Saturday. So I got home on Saturday night, just about the time that the Blues game was starting. And Mary is at the top of the stairs in the kitchen making pizza. And she does this walk past his room. And so I walk past his room and the door's closed, but it's him and his buddy just talking about whatever the hell it was that they were talking, whatever game, whatever. And so for the first time on Saturday night, my buddy had his friend over And as his friend, he and his friend were playing in their room, not very far from our living room, the Blues were completely melting down. And I was sitting on my hands and doing everything that I can to not yell at the television because I wanted this kid to not be freaked out and for his parents to allow him to come back to our house. So they ended up having a really great time. And the kiddo's mom messaged us on their way home and just said he had not stopped talking about Dexter and the good time that he had had.
That's awesome.
And then I followed that up with going to parent-teacher conferences on Monday, on Dexter's birthday, and my dude has all A's except for 2 high B's, and so my dude could very much have straight A's at some point during his sophomore year. And as a parent, you know, like, it's been very hard for me to understand sometimes Dexter and to understand the best way that I can be helpful for Dexter, because the way that Dex man sees everything is vastly different than the way that I do. And so I would always think, well, why isn't it this way? And why isn't it this way? And why isn't it that way? And I think one of the things that I learned is that and it's so hard with these kiddos, but you have to just go on the ride with them. You have to be supportive. And when they're ready to take the steps, then you're there with them. But for a lot of other things in the world that are not going super great, for this thing to happen and for my dude to have a buddy, to be able to call, to have boys.
Have his boys.
You know, for his birthday, this kid that came over, like, made him a birthday card and had all of these people in Dexter's first couple of hours sign this card. And, like, these are things that, like, I just never, it's not that I didn't ever think that they were going to happen, but, like, you know, he was kind of used to being in his own universe, and I kind of just thought that that's where we were. And now he's, like, talking about doing things. And it's just one of those things that, like, if you have a kiddo that, you know, is on the spectrum or has social issues, you know, like, there were so many nights that Mary and I would just be busted up about this, and Dexter didn't give 2 flying F's. And we just had to let him do this at his own pace. And so I just wanted to share that bit of a story, because that's something that has been absolutely amazing that has happened to me over the course of the last week. And I will get very angry about the Blues here in a couple of minutes. There are these things that happen in our lives that, you know, man, you just feel like everything's cool.
Yeah. No, that's a great story. I was hoping that you would have yelled at the TV. And the kid goes home and tells his parents, and they call over to find out what the heck. And you say, "Were you watching the Blues game?
Did you see what
they did?
If you were watching, you would have been yelling too."
Did you see the guy open the slot?
Donnie's just in his other room treating it like a mosh pit, and Dexter's friend is like, "What's going on with your dad?" He's watching the Blues game.
And that's what Dexter would have said. Dexter would have been like, "He's just watching a game. He'll shut up eventually." Blah, 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 blah.
I like to picture that image of Donnie sitting on his hands, trying not to get vocal about it. But you've ever seen those Airhead commercials where they just continue to get bigger and bigger, and then the head flies away like a balloon? That's Donnie as that game unraveled. Be like, "Oh, okay, Donnie's gone. Donnie's gone."
That's the absolute. But before we jump to the next segment, and to just wrap this up, I would just want to give a massive shout out, and I don't want to name his school because I know that people sometimes can be crazy.
Yeah.
But those of you that work with my son Dexter, have worked with Dex, have been a part of his progress and his growth, there's not enough thank yous in the universe. And I think, and again, you know, this is something that's said often, but I really just don't think that we appreciate these teachers the way that we should. These school support staff the way that we should. Whether it's public, whether it's private, wherever, these folks are doing their damnedest every day to help our kids grow up to be good people, smart people, better people. And I just hope that we do everything in our power as parents to support them for what they do.
Oh, yeah. Bravo.
Nailed it.
All right, so let's do this. I want to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and it's going to get real. More of the Last Minute Blues podcast coming next. All right, we're back. Segment number 2 of the Last Minute Blues podcast. Donnie with Alex and Jeremy. Guys, I've been trying to figure out a good way to say this. I don't know what in the fuck is going on?
There it is.
What am I watching?
Wait.
Beep. I mean, guys, listen. Okay, over the course of the last however many years of my life as being a sports fan and maturing as a person, I realize that these things are not life and death. I try not to get too affected by them one way or the other, but there's a couple of things flying around in my mind. One, this only proves how poorly they're playing that I don't know ish about hockey, like even in the slightest. Like, I don't know nothing. Guys, what is going on? Like, I don't even know where to start. I feel like everything feels like it's broken. I feel like, I'm sure that there is a positive note here or there, but like this feels like a whole lot of doom and gloom, and I'm not sure what's going to happen in the near term that's going to change this around. So guys, I don't know where you want to start. I don't know how you want to start, but what the hell is going on?
So I'm going to take you guys back to when you were dating. All right. We're going to go back like
a long time ago.
30 years, 40 years. Dating, relationships. Everybody can adjust with this, right? You remember when you liked somebody and then you'd find out that they didn't like you, but they would never give you a reason why. And internally you're like, man, what's going on here? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? You'd get real insecure about it. Mm-hmm. And really it would probably just be one thing that wasn't anything that you could have any control over, but internally you're thinking like 18 different things are wrong. That's what it feels like with this Blues team right now. Mm-hmm. You're watching them and you're like, okay, well, the goaltending isn't making the saves, right? Seems simple, but then you just sit there and you get those intrusive thoughts where it's like, well, it could be this, it could be this. It's like, well, what if it's this? Maybe it's this. Next thing you know, you've gone insane trying to figure out what's going wrong. And in all reality, it's just a couple of things that you had no control over. So the fact that the players are confused, the fact that the coaches are confused tells me that this is a lot more. There's a lot more webs that are coming away from this one than just like goaltending being the problem. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like, and we'll just go off specifics with this last game that they played against Detroit. Like you can look at it and say, well, they gave up 5 goals again. Like that's a problem. Sure, but are we not going to talk about the fact that there's guys just standing in the blue paint waiting for a puck to hit their stick and get knocked down? Are we not going to talk about the fact that the Blues just are struggling to get the puck out of their own end? They'll take 3 or 4 shots at it, and the next thing you know, it will still be in their own end, and they'll be putting the puck in the back of their net. Mm-hmm. And I think we also should be talking about the fact that they don't know how to handle when something goes wrong in a game. Like adversity is a problem for this team. Mm-hmm. I looked at this last night. Out of there have been 43 goals that have been scored on the Blues this season. Of those 43, 8 of the goals have come in a 2-minute window. So meaning the opposition has scored at least 2 goals in less than 2 minutes. To me, that's adversity, and you don't know how to handle it. You can't stop the snowball from coming down on you. So you can look at it and say, well, the goaltending's the problem. Man, it feels like there's 7 or 8 different things right now, and I think the biggest factor for me of what's going on, this team just feels disconnected on the ice. It feels like there are 5 guys that are spread out, and everybody's looking around waiting for somebody to take it. And that is concerning, I would say, considering the way that they ended last year. It felt like they were a glove on the ice.
Yeah, first of all, it's a great analogy. The only thing is the dates that I went on, they told me what was wrong with me. So I didn't have to sit there.
I heard you earlier today on the show talking about how you go to Taco Bell before dinner. So JR was just loading up.
You had to make sure your belly was full before you took him out to dinner. But no, they told me the long list of things why they didn't want to go out on date number 2.
Though for JR, he goes home and he's like, well, now I know. Now I know.
Johnny, your eyes are just way too big.
No, they told you that?
I got one that told me that. Anyway, go ahead.
No, Alex is right. And obviously we're going to spend some time here trying to dissect what's going on. And we've been doing it the past couple of days, Alex on BK and Ferrario and me doing the hits on 101. I don't think you can get to the bottom of it. I don't think you could have a 2-hour long show or, we could stretch the pod out and at the end we go, okay, we figured it out. That's that's not the thing. And, if I'm going to do an analogy too, it's like, you got your kids, right? And they're they didn't clean up their mess. They didn't do this. They didn't do their homework. At some point you quit dissecting the individual things that they're doing wrong, and you just say, hey, look, they're not living up to their responsibility. They're not getting anything done here. It's not a this, that. It's they're just not getting the job done. And I think that's where the Blues are right now. Now, where it comes to us analyzing it and trying to get to the bottom of it, takes you here is, the season is long, and yes, they're off to a bad start. Now we're getting to the point where, can they fix this? Is this fixable? Like, I really think that last night felt different. The previous games felt like, okay, well, they lost because of this, and things could still, if this guy played better. Now you get to the point where it's like, Alex, we were talking about this. Is this who you are?
Yeah. You just asked the question, could this team just be bad? And it's a weird question to ask, because it's like these intrusive thoughts that come in, and the moment you say it, you're like, no, come on. It's a team can't be that bad. Look at how good they played offensively last year. Look at how stingy they were defensively. The goaltending comes back from that. And I apologize for cutting you off, JR, but it's that intrusive thought to where when you see it consistently, it feels a lot like what it was. I think this was 3 years ago, where they started the year off 2-0, 3-0. They beat the Edmonton Oilers, and I think it was 2-0 or 3-0. And you're like, whoa. This team's really good still.
2-0. That was a great game.
And then they lost 7 straight.
Yeah.
And you started to have those. It's like, whoa. Could they just be bad? And I don't want to believe that, but you do have to start asking those questions when you see the same issues continue to pop up, and you hear the same thing from the coaches. You hear the same thing from the players. Yeah, different coaches. But what I mean is, after every loss this season, Jim Montgomery said the same thing. Like, he's come out talking about how we need to check hard. We need to play heavy. We need to be forechecking. We need to make sure we're working as a team. And then they get on the ice and it's like, whoa.
Right, which is the same thing that happened with Bannister, same thing happened with Berube.
Yes.
Yeah. With this group.
And listen, one thing that I want to put to bed, right now, and it has nothing to do with whatever contract or how many years left that Monty has on his deal. Monty ain't going nowhere.
No.
Montgomery is not the problem.
And nor should he.
And nor should he. This is a continuation of, as you just said, what we saw under Berube, what we saw under Bannister, and now what we're seeing under goddamn Montgomery. And what's going on here, and what I do not understand, as I'm watching these games, and outside of maybe Nathan Walker, Torpo, why is Braden Shin seemingly the only one that is really goddamn angry that they're playing like crap? Like, why is he also too, all right, and I said this last year and the year before, why is Braden Shin our captain? Also, one of our older players, one of the guys that we can absolutely not lose, being the guy that's going out there and starting fights and trying to bring the team into the friggin' fight every single night. Why is he the only goddamn guy doing that? And it seems as though that he is. And I can't clip on players and their efforts because I don't know. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is an effort sort of thing, but it's like this deer in the headlights thing when the game gets started and what are we going to, and I don't understand it. And then also, and I know that this is just going to be too much and I don't know how we're going to go, but this team plays to me like a team that is largely unfamiliar with each other and trying to figure each other out. And they only made a couple of off-season moves.
That's it, yeah.
So I wouldn't understand why that would be the case. And so I understand that the goaltending has not been good, but I also want to talk about what are the forwards and defensemen doing to contribute to the poor goalie play, because I know that they're not doing their job either to help out Benner or to help out Hofer, even though neither one of those guys have been particularly very good outside of those first couple games. Guys, I don't know.
Well, to that question, I feel like, and this just might be me and my dumb brain.
And you could be right, and I could just be seeing it all be wrong now.
I don't even know if I'm right. But to your question of what's happening for the goalies to look like this, I think it's the play in front of them. I mean, the last couple of games, and I believe Montgomery said it after the loss against the Red Wings, they're not defending the paint. they're not defending the front of the net. I mean, look, that first goal that went in on Binnington, that went off of Falk's butt. There's nothing you could do about that. We'll talk about puck luck in a minute because I know that's a real buzzword these days for Blues fans. But the second goal, DeBrincat, he's just standing there. He is waiting for something to happen. And man, that's just not what the Blues were last year. That was not in their DNA. If somebody went to the front of the net, they were going to pay for it. And it doesn't feel like guys are having that problem now. And that's tough for a goaltender. That's tough for a goaltender to try and be working around these guys. And then when you're trying to locate that puck, and the next thing you know, boom, deflected in front of the net. The other factor into this is why is so difficult. The puck's not moving north consistently. It's either getting stopped in their own end when they're trying to exit out of the zone, or the zone exits just don't feel clean, right? Like there's been a couple of occasions to where they'll start to skate out of their own end and it looks like it's going north, but then it's a lateral move to where it's going east to west in the neutral zone. And then the other team's already on their toes and they come in with speed. The zone entries are way too easy for the opposition. The Blues aren't getting the puck in to the other side to create a little bit more ozone. It's just like this wave effect that as much as we can look at the goalies, and look, there's goals that they would tell you that they wanted back, specifically, I'm sure Joel Hofer, because he's been going through it. But man, as much as I can look at the goaltenders and say, oh man, it would have been good to get a save at that point, I also have to look at the backdoor tap-ins and look at the odd man rushes that have been coming the other way and say, this isn't the way, this isn't the style that you play. You're a heavy team in the neutral zone that makes teams put the puck behind their defensemen and go back and get it. And if you go back and get it, you're going to have to pay. And it doesn't feel like teams are doing that right now.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I know that, I've said a couple times in interviews that if you put together a list of the issues, goaltending, I think, is at the top. And let me clarify that a little bit is, it's definitely not all on the goaltending. But I think talking to a lot of, Blues players over the years, when the goalies aren't their normal selves and they let a couple in, it just leaks into your entire team and you're just waiting for, okay, now that guy
start to play on eggshells.
Okay, this guy's, okay, no, it can't happen again tonight. 2 and 55 seconds. Like, where do we go from here? And then it's just psychological at that point. And so, if the goalies were good this year, would the Blues be 8-2? No, that's, they have other issues besides the goaltending, but this is, I think, one of the best tandems in the league, top 5, top 10 in the league, and it hasn't played like that. And so I think when the rest of the team feels like, that the goaltenders are struggling, it just, you're a half step off. You're not doing things. Now, all that said, I am not making any excuses for the skaters, the rest of the team. You just need to overcome it. You need to go out there and help the goaltender. Yeah. You need to go out there and get in on the forecheck, keep the puck in the offensive zone, keep the puck out of your own end, and then you're going to fix a lot of the issues that you have. And the Blues are not doing that. So it's definitely all interconnected. I just feel like, a couple saves here. Like, I'm not saying if, but if Hofer doesn't throw that puck out in the front of the net, that's kind of what started his little situation here. What happens in that game, and then how's the team playing today as a result? So that's not dependent on one thing. I'm just saying, like, you got to stop the puck.
That's where the disconnected feels for me. Like, you're right, JR. Like, this isn't taking any of the fault off of the goalies, because you need them just as much as you need your forwards and your defensemen.
I think we're all saying that everyone is a part of the problem.
Right.
But the disconnection feels like from the net out to where the goalie's unsure of where the defensemen are going to be at, the defensemen are unsure where the forwards are going to be at, and everybody is just waiting for something to click. Like a great example, when the Blues pulled the goaltender against Detroit and they were trying to get back into the game, the pass from Texier to Parayko was behind him, and Parayko wound up, took the shot, and he missed it, and he fell down. Like, that's not what we saw last year. It was crisp passes onto the sticks. Shots were quick. They were moving the puck well. It just feels disconnected. And maybe that's lacking confidence right now. Maybe that's the injuries that have happened and the Blues are trying to pull themselves out of that funk. Regardless, it doesn't feel like where they were last year. And that's the real confusing part, because we all assumed, I've been blamed for pumping this team up in the preseason. We all assumed that a full camp under Jim Montgomery, man, the details were going to be there. It was going to be, boom, we're off to the races because Jim Montgomery is an incredible coach. You guys are absolutely right. This has nothing to do with the coaching staff. Like, the coaches will take blame, but there's track record for these coaches of having success. It's a theme that just, it's not putting to fruition on the ice, and that's where the confusion sets in.
Dude, you talk about a track record. These players have a track record of getting into these situations for themselves.
I know you guys listed Berube and Bannister, but it goes back to Mike Yeo.
Yeah.
Mike Yeo was that. Now, it's a different core at that time, but still, I mean, I remember having those conversations.
So I was listening to the game last night, and I believe in the second intermission, you played a bit from the Jeff Merrick, Greg Wyshynski podcast.
Merrick versus Wyshynski on the Jeff show.
And I'd just like to say, just first of all, my issues with Greg Wyshynski are nothing about the work in which that he does. He is effing awesome. He is great at what he does. I absolutely
now
read.
we're cleaning up the language.
I guess you're right.
Hey, we started off hot, okay? We calmed down a little bit.
But the thing that I just get, and listen, man, this is just the St. Louisan in me coming out. I'm just going to be real. This is just the North County, Florissant to South County in me coming out. I feel as though Wyshynski is a Blues hater through and through. And even when there are flowers to be given to the Blues, he is real freaking reluctant to do it. So in saying all of this, I don't like him, but in hearing him and Merrick talk yesterday and wondering about the Blues defense specifically, when the Blues won the Cup, RD was unfreaking believable. Those three pairings, man, were outstanding. And I went into this year, I believe, thinking that our defense was better than what it is and has currently been. Guys, is the biggest issue not the forwards, not the goaltending. Is there something wrong with the makeup of our six? And also, too, even in saying that, even if there is, you got a lot of contracts going on there. So I don't know who could be moved or what have you. I don't know who's going to be looking to take on Justin Falk's deal or what have you. So guys, is the defense the biggest issue here? And if so, how the hell do you fix that?
I mean, I personally don't think it's just the defensemen. I think it's the defense, which is also the forwards. Like, you could talk about that 2019 team that won the Cup. As great as their defensemen were, you also have to remember it was Ryan O'Reilly, it was Tyler Bozak, it was Ivan Barbashev, Oscar Sundqvist, David work. You had four lines that were all committed to one style. And I don't know if they have that right now. So yes, like defensively, you can look at Parayko and Fowler and Falk and be like, man, what's going on here? They've got young guys in terms of Broberg and Tucker and Mayu that are learning. The loss of Ryan Suter seems very massive this season for having that experience there on the back end. But I just... Every time you talk about defensive issues, it feels like you can't just talk about the defenseman. And maybe I'm wrong with this. Maybe it is. It feels like it's also the other three guys that are out there with them. Darren Pang used to say it all the time. You know a team's connected when you watch the video or watch the TV and you see five guys in one camera shot. Man, it just doesn't feel like that when they're in their own end.
And I honestly, I do know that as a hockey fan, that the defense or the forwards coming back to play D is so critically important. And I should have included that in the question.
It's a good question, though.
And to not let them off the hook here either, because they're absolutely a part.
But I do think it's a fair question when you ask about the defensemen, because, I mean, they're big. They've got the speed. They've got the ability to play offense. It's just in their own end. It feels like it's not what it was last year. That's the part that it's always so hard for me and confusing for me to say, well, yeah, they're just not good. Well, they were one of the best from Christmas on last year, so I don't think I can sit here and act as if they're worse now. They just forgot how to play hockey.
Yeah, and that's what Jim Montgomery told me a couple days ago. I called him when he was in Pittsburgh and talked to him about all these different areas, and he said it's the same structure, the same strategy, the same everything that was the best record in the league, since the Four Nations. So, what's most surprising to me, guys, is it's one thing to have some games where maybe you're not playing the way you need to play and you're not playing up to par. But when the coach comes out in the pregame, like you did before Monday's game in Pittsburgh. And he said, we are going to check our asses off tonight. To me, I'd never been in their shoes, but I wake up from my, sleep. I get ready to go to the rink for the morning skate. You see or hear the comment, whatever, maybe some of them do, some of them don't. If I have to be carried off that, like when a coach says something like that, it just seems like you need to have that type of effort. But it was the opposite. At the end of the game, you asked Jim Montgomery, did they do that? And he says, no, not even close. Not even close. And so then a couple nights later, guess who's coming back to town? Detroit, the team we talked about this, that, you coughed up the lead to. You're going to let them come in and
coughed up the lead again
and run you again after what happened the other night in Detroit. So there's a lot of disconnectedness. There's a lot of that, but there needs to be more fight. Like even if you're still struggling to find out, the right way to play, you can figure it out, but you're playing hard. And in the third period, you're getting shots on goal and things like that. Go down trying. And it doesn't seem right now that they're going down trying.
That's why, real quick, I think the loss of Jake Neighbors is going to be more impactful than people are giving it credit for, because you want to talk about a guy who brings it every single night.
Every minute of every single night.
I mean, the guy blew his knee in the second period and he played the rest of that hockey game. Like he played another 9 shifts in the third period. That was one of those guys. And I heard Pronger talk about this on NHL Network. They were talking about Edmonton and how he said, I think the Hyman loss is more impactful than people are giving it credit for, because that's a guy that when you're on the bench and you're not McDavid or Draisaitl, you say, that's how I have to play if I want to have success in the league. That's Jake Neighbors. I mean, Neighbors is leading the team in goals from just going to the front of the net and standing there. Like, I'm like name dropping on all the stuff that I've heard, but there's so many good comments. Bill Armstrong was talking about Utah the other day, and they were talking about how good they've been. And he said, look, we've got a DNA in our team. If you want bread, you go to the bakery. If you want money, you go to the bank. If you want goals, you go to the front of the net. That's what Jake Neighbors was. And when you lose that, everybody else starts looking around saying, well, who's going to do that? And Jake Neighbors every game was like, I'll do it. Sure, I'm in. And then everyone else wanted to do it. Did we make you feel better?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
No.
JR, job well done.
Yeah. Guys, I mean, the thing that's the most frustrating here is just that same-ish, different season. Right?
Yeah, and then it leads to the questions about the core, which a lot of people are talking about right now.
Yeah.
And I always say, name the core. Okay, if you're going to talk about the core, who is it? And, and people say, don't include Braden Shen. I'm not including Braden Shen in terms of anything negative that's going on with this team whatsoever. He's just part of the core because he's been here a while.
And he's the captain
of the team. But then you have the Kyrou, Thomas, Buchnevich, Parayko, Bennington, whoever else you want to put in that group. And my thing is, did they talk to teams about trading Jordan Kyrou? Perhaps. We don't know for sure, but it's probably likely. Did they talk to people about Shen last year? Yeah, he wanted to stay here. What are you going to do that's going to change the core, that's going to significantly alter the look of this team, that all of a sudden come February, we're talking about a team who has a chance to make the playoffs and you're staying pat at the trade deadline. What's always happened with this team, which is by design with Doug Armstrong, is he has that core and then he's got a sub core coming up underneath. And that's what he did with Tarasenko and Schwartz coming in. And that's what he did with all these guys. Now you got the Snuggaroos, the Dvorskys coming up, and the team's going to look pretty similar the way it has the past couple of years. And then all these new guys, young guys will infiltrate in, and then at some point you sign a free agent, make a trade. That's what they're doing. But, it's tough to unload some of these guys with 2, 3, 4 years left on their deal.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like I've heard so much of, well, it's the core. You got to make a trade. This isn't the end. This isn't an EA Sports NHL 25. This isn't a matter of, well, I'll just go to this guy and I'll trade it for this guy. First of all, who do you think you're going to trade that guy for? Because you don't just trade for somebody and just assume he's going to bring a new culture to the team. These guys have been around for a long time. So yeah, you could say it's a core problem, but it's kind of like, this is the bed you made, you have to lie in it, more than you could just go out there and make a trade and all of a sudden change the DNA of the team. I mean, look at Vancouver. right? Like they thought there was a core problem and they said, well, let's move on from JT Miller. That fixed the problem, right? Anybody see where Vancouver's at right now?
They're not good.
No, even the Rangers bring in JT Miller to fix the core. And what's going on with them?
Not good.
They're struggling. So this isn't just let's go out there and find a new face of the franchise. One, those guys aren't available. The Athletic had an article on this to where of the top 100 players, I think it was like 70 or 72 or 68% of the players that are like top 100 players were drafted by the organization.
See, that's the thing is, let's say hypothetically, I'm just using Jordan Kyrou's name as an example. He's played pretty good this season.
He's been one of the better players.
Yeah. So let's say you had a 1-for-1 trade for him and you think, okay, you got to make that trade because I don't think Jordan Kyrou is the guy to help, which is fine. Everybody's got an opinion and you might not be wrong, but why is that other team trading the guy to St. Louis?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he's got some issues, some baggage. The fans are talking about him, fairly similarly in another city. And that's why you have to count on the Jimmy Snuggeroods to turn into who you think they are. Mm-hmm. That's why you have to get bold like Doug Armstrong did and go find a Holloway and Broberg, which,
worked out.
Who those things don't strike gold like that one did. And it did. And that could help get you back there. But you didn't have to go trade somebody to try to bring somebody in and roll the dice and think, is this going to work? So, could they make a trade with this core? Could they move somebody out? They could. And maybe I could be proven wrong in 6 months and it really helped the Blues. But tell me what the deal is. Tell me who's coming in here. Tell me how they're going to fit in with what they're doing, bringing in a lot of these young guys over the next couple of years. I just think the Blues are in a situation where they're trying to be competitive, which Doug Armstrong has stated, and they're trying to bring in the young guys. That's why the Logan Mailloux trade was made. Like if they wanted to, have the best team on the ice possible this year,
they wouldn't have made that trade.
But it's still for the big picture.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah. Even in emails, will, Donnie?
In the slightest. Let's come back. We'll get to as many of your emails as we can. More from the Last Minute Blues podcast in just a second. All right. Again, the email game this week. Unbelievably strong from the Last Minute Blues podcast listeners. One of the best parts about this, and I know we're not going to be able to get through everybody, is that how many of these emails that we're seeing from Blues fans that are out of state, which I find to be absolutely fantastic. Great. You can email us lmbp@1057thepoint.com. Audrey messaged in and said, "Good morning. Just want to start off by saying I love the podcast. I feel like my hockey knowledge has grown more since I started listening. On to my questions. Is it fair to say that there are players that clearly know their roles, such as Holloway, as Monty mentioned in the last press conference, who finds moments throughout the game to make plays and set something up? It feels as though there is more than one player going through a mental struggle that started before the regular season." She goes on to say, "Do you think Doug Armstrong and ownership will look to make any changes if this lull continues?" Then she asks, if so, they'd be looking to trade anyone. I just hope all the fault doesn't fall on Monty like it did Bannister. A little side note, every time the Blues lose, I really wish an episode came out with Donnie's thoughts and reactions just for pure entertainment. The game against Pittsburgh was probably the most disappointing loss lately for me because it seemed like they were pulling themselves out of a deficit and then they just couldn't capitalize. Love you guys. Let's go Blues. That's from Audrey. So a couple questions here. And I guess it feels like to me it feels like the whole damn team is going through a mental struggle right now. But how long do you think that it would be before Doug Armstrong and ownership, if things continue the way that they are, before they try to do something? And honestly, I don't even know what that something would be. We're still so early in the year. You're so tight up against the cap. Mm-hmm.
In past, you don't typically see trades happen until middle of November, beginning of December, if teams make trades.
And that still seems early.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You want to go trade for something that's going to help you. Well, where are you weakest at? And I think if you ask a Blues fan that question, they're going to probably give you 4 different answers.
Yeah.
You're not trading for a goaltender. Can't really trade for a defenseman. And if you are, where's he going to play? Because you got Mailloux, you've got Tucker, you've got Kessel, you got your top 4. So you're going to trade for a forward. Okay, well, you're probably wanting to replace Jake Neighbors. You're willing to give up pretty decent prospect, a 3rd round pick. They don't have a 2nd round pick in this year's draft, so it's either the 1st or the 3rd round pick. You willing to give that up? And who are you going to trade it for? Because how many teams out there are wanting to say, yeah, we'll trade a top 6 forward. So yes, you probably would expect them to make a trade if things continue poorly. I actually would say if things continue poorly, they're more likely to just go and say, let's bring up Dvorsky, let's bring up Stenberg, and just let them play.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we all kind of think, okay, maybe Doug could be on the phone in the next couple of weeks. The reality is that all those conversations have been had for months and if not years, so I don't have any knowledge of any talks, but what I'm saying is, teams know that if the Blues get off to a tough start, Doug might listen on this guy or that guy. And I think that's what happens. Mm-hmm. And so over the next couple months, if things continue to go this way, which the Blues fans obviously hope they don't, then GMs are going to know to pick up the phone and call Doug, and then Doug will be more apt to listen because he sees kind of where it's going. I wouldn't expect anything to happen soon. Now, you say that, and we're going to have an emergency pod.
Everybody check their phone right now.
Emergency pod.
This episode is moot.
Yeah. You got to throw it all away. So, but yeah, I think it happens later. And also, I do think that as bad as things look right now, and we're all being critical, I think the team, they still believe in the room and the players, and they think that, okay, 10 games, let's see 20, 25 games. I think Ken Hitchcock used to always say, 20, 25.
That's what I was going to reference, and just to add some positive light to this, I loved Jim Montgomery's quote after that loss last night. Like him saying, look, we went 3-6-1 in our first 10 games. If we go 6-3-1 in our next 10, then we're 500. And he said, at some point, we're going to go 8-2 this season. I truly believe it. And that's what Hitch was. Hitch was segment the season off into 10 games. How are you playing for these 10, and then the next 10, and then the next 10? I mean, you're 10 games into the season. Yeah. There's still a lot of hockey to go. So, as much as it sounds like doom and gloom right now, I also look at this and say, you could go 7-3 in the next 10 games, and we're talking about, woo, the Blues are on a hot streak.
Yeah, you should have seen me doing the math when he said that. I'm at my computer going, okay, 9-2, is that 5?
It's okay. Dudes, I just still have a hard time really actually believing they're this bad. I really do. John messaged in from Crestwood. He says, Donnie, love the show. If anyone says otherwise, I've got a stinky mitt face wash and a couple of shots to the kidneys for him. Yeah, I like when we got some heavies working for us.
Is this Chaser?
What's up with the Lucic PTO? His physical style has clearly been affecting the team in a positive way. What are the NHL conditions here? Is there a limit to how long you can try out? Did Army find a way to add some veteran leadership and grit while staying under the cap? Here's my only thing about this, John, and I don't want to speak for you guys, and you could speak to this more. I don't necessarily know that the team is necessarily lacking physicality right now, as far as that's the thing that we're missing to kind of put it back together. I'm not saying it couldn't help or wouldn't help, or maybe that big body standing in front of the goal. I don't know, but
Well, we were in the press box last night, and Lucic, he's been there for every game. He walked past us a few times. I was like, can you put a uniform on and go there? But so with Lucic, okay, so to answer the question, PTO, they'll sign him to another one, if not a contract at some point. Jim Montgomery addressed this yesterday. He said that he's rehab skating, so it's not quite there yet to where he can be even a practice player. At some point he will be, and then we'll see which direction they go. Does he go to the American Hockey League, get some games? We'll see. But to me, Alex, Donnie, okay, put him on the roster. Mm-hmm. He lays a couple big hits. Maybe he gets into a fight. Does it spark anything? I said this on a different interview. Did Braden Shen spark anything last night?
Nope.
I mean, it's good what he did, and it shows that he cares. But if the rest of the team doesn't respond, then what is Milan Lucic going to do? I mean, it probably gives you a better situation than a couple of guys that are trotting out there. But
let's be honest, he's on your fourth line. If he's playing your fourth line minutes for you, maybe the third line, but we're still talking 10 or 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're hoping he sparks in terms of puck possession, offensive zone. Guys, the issue that we've been spending this most of episode on has been in their own end. And I mean, this is nothing against Milan Lucic. He's been an incredible player for a long time, but it's not like he's a Selke candidate every single season. So this may fix the offensive zone time. This may fix maybe the energy on the bench to have a guy like this. it's not going to fix their issues right now.
Yeah. Email coming in from Dan. I'll make it quick because Donnie's got to be on the radio.
Whoa. Me too.
Yeah, but you started 11. I started 10.
You're right. That made me sound like I was really full of myself. And I'm sorry.
Include Alex, too.
Hold on. I'm going to back out of this one now.
It's so awesome that he picked up on that, though, that you say that.
Pretty fantastic.
What an idiot.
I hear all the time about Ott being the power play specialist, and yet our power play is ... not great. And it's been that way going back a while now. I don't get it. Is Ott the issue, or is it the fact that we've got 3 forwards who refuse to shoot the puck, or something else I'm not savvy enough to see? Love the pod, never miss an episode, and obligatory Jeff shout out. I miss him so much and never met the guy. That's from Dan.
Yeah, it is a good question, though, because I think we had Steve Ott here. We all think that he's a great guy, good coach. The power play under him years ago, was good. It has not been as good lately. I think that coincides with not as much talent on the roster. But when you see the team not shoot on the power play, and by the way, they've got 35 shots on 29 power play opportunities.
Yeah.
Gee,
35 shots. That's what I have, 5th lowest in the league.
That's got to be, yeah.
Whose fault really is that? I guess you can say the coach, because the coach should be up there. Donnie, are we cussing this part of the show or not?
Yeah.
So, the coach can get on him about not shooting the puck, but ultimately these guys got to shoot the puck, right? We saw it again last night. There's an opportunity to get back in the game, and you get a couple power plays. And like Jim Montgomery said, we're not converging on the net. We're not. Everything is outside, and they're telegraphing every pass. So anyway, to answer your question, it's the coach has a big say in everything that goes on with the power play, but the players will tell you themselves. I mean, I've had Blues players tell me, the power play coach, years ago, we got to get the job. It's us. Yeah. It's us. It really is.
I mean, at this point, I do not want to hear, and this doesn't have to do with this particular question. I don't want to hear it about the coaches. I don't want to hear it. That is a lame ass excuse if you're asking me, man. I know what these dudes are capable of. I saw that business for a month last year. Mm-hmm. What the heck?
Yeah.
All right. So listen, here's what we got to do. We actually have to stop right now. And unfortunately, we're going to leave a lot of emails unread. But guys, we really appreciate you participating. We're just trying to make sure that we get to everything here during the podcast. And truthfully, we have to leave so that we can go to a meeting about our healthcare insurance.
That's important. Hey, hang on to those. They might be relevant in a few days. Yeah.
Maybe we have to dedicate one episode a week just to emails.
I mean, maybe so, because I mean, they're coming in so fast.
That's incredible.
And the thing that's so great, man, is these are really well thought out emails, man. But I want to just real quick, I want to give a shout out to Sydney, who messaged. She's listening to us in Minneapolis, a Blues fan in Wild Country. Also, we've got a young lady named Taylor that just moved here from Arkansas. Awesome. That is becoming an absolute hockey addict.
I love that.
So we just want to thank everybody. Yeah. Dylan messaged in, Chase messaged in, all of you guys that did. We really appreciate it. And we're going to get to these as many as we can as it goes along.
Keep sending them.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening and watching the Last Minute Blues podcast. For Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN. My name is Donnie Fandango. Last Minute Blues podcast presented by Blue Note Roofing, roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofingSTL.com for a free inspection. And as always, let's go Blues.
The Last Minute Blues podcast on 101 ESPN
is presented by Blue Note Roofing, roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofing.com for a free inspection.